Thank you very much.
Good to have you on board. I want to talk about what happened to a lady who was riding around Newport on her mobility scooter. Her name is Jennifer Swayne. She's 53, and she believes that you cannot change your sex, your gender. So she was particularly worried about men who identify as women being allowed into Britain's jails. So she was putting up posters saying humans never change sex. She was intercepted by the police and later they raided her home. She spent 12 hours in the police station and was accused of potentially spreading hate about trans people. Now, the thing is, Kelly, she said that this is what she thinks. These are her beliefs. So, how did it happen that she got arrested? I mean, what is she supposed to have done wrong? She hasn't been charged yet, but she's been accused of possibly displaying threatening or abusive writing likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. They took a book away from her, which is a book about the theory and practice of transgendering children. And she hasn't got that back yet. When she was finally released on conditional bail, it was 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and her phone was seized. She's 53 and she's in a wheelchair. What do the police think they're up to?
God, I think what they're up to is what we like to call lazy, quick policing, which is easy convictions, especially if you can entrap somebody in an interview and you can make them say things that then you can go, aha, you really have committed the crime of the century, which is having a bad thought, or certainly not a thought that, I don't know, don't most of us, about 99% of people in this country know that you can't change sex. And the reason that women like Jennifer Swayne are having to go out and put stickers is because Wales in particular, they've decided you're not allowed to talk about it. The conversation's already been had. It's all been had behind closed doors. And actually, men can be women, women can be men. We can talk to kids about gender identity. It's an absolute done deal without the consent of the public or even a conversation with the electorate. They have made these decisions. And so women like Jennifer, all over the world, actually, women like Jennifer are putting stickers up in protest.
I mean, you can transition, of course. You can have the surgery. You can transition from, ostensibly male to ostensibly female. But the point is, Jennifer Swayne's belief, and obviously your belief, is that despite doing that, you still retain the gender that you were born with, the gender of your birth. The point is, she's got the right to believe that, hasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, look, you and I do disagree on this particular issue. I don't think you can ever change sex. I think you can have cosmetic surgery maybe to try and achieve some sort of.
I'm not quite sure how I articulate what I feel about it. I mean, what I do, as you probably noticed, what I do believe is you cannot change the facts of your biological history. If you were born a male, your chromosomes will actually continue to dictate that biologically you are a male. What I then feel is if you undergo a transition, and you want to be a female, then you should be respected as such. However, I think what Jennifer Swayne's worried about, and I'm very worried about this, is cases like that Karen White person who was jailed as a man, identified as a woman, was transferred, by the way, had a history of sex offences against women, was transferred to a female jail, whereupon she, I have to call her she, proceeded to rape 2 inmates. That's the sort of thing that worries me, and I think that's the sort of thing that worries Jennifer Swayne.
100%. Look, what you can't transition out of is the criminality of being male. And so there's no difference between the risk of a man, whether he calls himself a woman or calls himself a man. He's still equally a risk to women. Now, we know that that's quite rare because we know that there aren't that many violent assaults in comparison to the population of the UK. So we're not saying that every single man in the country is a risk to women. We're saying that some are, and it doesn't matter whether that man calls himself a man or a woman. And more importantly, what on earth are the police doing? I seem to think now that they police by political will and not by consent. And I think that is a really frightening episode for all of us. The thing that happened to Jennifer Swayne, and I'm laughing because it's so crazy, they got a warrant to search her house for stickers. Oh. I mean, just can you? I can't imagine ever that I thought I would say those words about something in the United Kingdom, that the police got a warrant to search somebody's house for stickers and confiscated a book at the same time.
What it's leading towards, clearly, they think they might be able to get her for a hate crime. And what worries me about this is it doesn't matter what I think, but whatever I do think, I've got the right to think it, to believe it. And I think you and Jennifer Swayne have got the right to believe what you believe. Why can't you say that? That, in my view, someone born a man cannot become biologically a female. Why can't you say that without being in trouble, possibly for committing a hate crime? That's an infringement of freedom of speech, isn't it?
100%. I've been interviewed twice under caution. Once I was interviewed here in Wiltshire by 2 police that came down from West Yorkshire Police. They spent a night in a hotel to interview me under caution about 6 tweets in which I supposedly misgendered someone. That means I called a man. I said Mr. for a man. And I said that I thought it was abusive to castrate a 16-year-old boy, which apparently, this is the place that we are. We can't say things, really straightforward things about things that we know, if it's got anything to do with LGBT and mostly T. So if it's got anything to do with transgenderism, we're in a place where women simply can't speak the truth, or anybody can't speak the truth about what they see in front of them with their very own eyes, because you could be accused and prosecuted for a hate crime. I mean, I just think you can't start policing people's thoughts. That really is the road to hell.
Exactly right. I mean, where we differ is, when someone has transitioned, someone born a male transitions to female, and they want to be called she. I mean, I don't see why we don't keep them whatever makes them happy. Why won't you concede that if it makes them happy, you'll call them she?
Well, I won't, because I think it is the first step. So the reason that we are having difficulty having these conversations is because we have to use female language for men. And as soon as you use female language for men, you get into a whole world of trouble where people don't really know what you're talking about. So if you say about a trans woman, if you decide a man can be a subset of women, like in the case of Karen White, then it becomes a much more difficult conversation to say that that man cannot go into a woman's prison. It's the same as what's happening in American sports. There's that Leah Thomas, who's a swimmer, who is now competing, changing with women, who are making them feel uncomfortable. And it's all because we have used this nonsensical term of trans woman for a man. And so that's why I will not concede a single little bit of women's language.
I know you won't. Before you go, Kelly, it's good to have you back on the show, by the way. Always enjoy our conversations. The University of Chester, whatever the hell that is, They have an English department, and for some reason, they do an English course, a module on the works of J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. Do you know that joke? I'm a big admirer of the works of J.K. Rowling, apart from all that Harry Potter rubbish. But seriously, they're doing this course on the works of J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. And they've given a warning to students reading the first Harry Potter book that it could lead to difficult conversations about gender, race, sexuality, class and identity. I presume this is something to do with J.K. Rowling's stance on what we've been discussing. What it's what I might call the defeminization of women, and I'm with you on that. I hate calling women people with cervixes because I think that's sexist. That deprives you of what you are. That shouldn't be wrong. And they don't sort of call men people with testicles. So it's sexist. I'm against that. But this is what this is about at Chester English Department, isn't it? That if you pick up a book by J.K. Rowling, you'll have to confront her terrifying views on women.
Well, I think that department ought to have a trigger warning saying if you take a course here, you will have a lifetime of idiocy. It's just crazy, isn't it? I mean, these poor kids, they've been in lockdown. These poor, like, teenagers that are now at university, they've been in lockdown and now they apparently can't even cope with the views of somebody else. And actually, I think what's more frightening is not that some people expect them not to cope, but the fact that we really are grooming these children into a place where they cannot cope with other people's point of view. And this particular silly trigger warning idea is part to blame for that. And I mean, where are they going to go from there? I mean, are they really going to be able to get a decent job where people sometimes say you haven't worked hard enough today? Are they going to be able to cope? I don't think so.
I'm tempted to say something quite cruel now, which is, are they going to get a decent job? Not really. Not when you went to the University of Chester, whatever the hell that is. Kelly, great to have you back. We'll talk again soon. That's Kellie-Jay Keen.